Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. In today's episode, I would like to cover the duo from Visma Bike, Wout van Aert and Jonas Vingegaard. What do they have coming up immediately? Well, here in 25 season, their season is starting this week. Monday is Classica Jaén. And last year, that is where Wout van Aert got into the race. Wasn't the start of his race. He'd raced one day before that. But at Classica Jaén, he was on what I thought looked like exceptionally good form. If I back you up into one of the videos that I covered on Beyond the Coverage, I talked about last season how at Classica Jaén, Wout van Aert and Visma Bike really messed up the tactics there. They had Sepp Kuss and Jan Tratnik up the road. Wout van Aert had a flat. His two teammates didn't wait for him. Now, when you covered that race last year, if you watched it on Beyond the Coverage, well, Wout was back there close to being able to close the gap up to the group up in front, but they never sent Jan Tratnik and Sepp back there to go get the big guy. I think that was a mistake. Now, was it a catastrophic mistake? Absolutely not. It's Classica Jaén. It's not the Tour de France. But it's ways to keep the team motivated and winning already throughout the early part of the season. And when you got a guy like Wout van Aert and Jonas Vingegaard, you want these guys to win because they're the two captains, the head honchos on the team that really set the precedent and get the flow of the team going. Now, what do I mean by the flow? Well, if you have Wout van Aert already winning early in the season, that takes the stress off of him, takes the stress off the team, takes the stress off the super domestiques and the domestiques of the team because they've already started winning. And not only does it take the stress off before you go into the races, but when you have a guy like Wout van Aert and you get into the classics and you start sending other teammates like Thies Benoot up the road, or if we're at Classica Jaén and stuff, where you had Jan Tratnik and Sepp Kuss up the road, but no Wout van Aert back there, they know they're going to pull those guys, but then they're going to get attacked left and right. But if we fast forward into Jaén this season in 2025 and Wout starts winning there, he wins a couple sprint stages down at Algarve, his next race. Well, all of a sudden you get into the classics, and now those super domestiques, when they get in the break, they just have the card to say, well, I'll soft pedal up here. Maybe I won't do much work because we got the big guy Wout van Aert back there that can win when we're up here at Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, E3, and when we're at Kern-Brussels, Kearns and Dwarsdorp-Vlaanderen. Those races are important. So if you can get the big guy already winning early and you can get him winning at Algarve with sprints there, once they go into the classics, especially those semi-classics at like Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, well, there, all of a sudden, Wout's capable of saying, well, Tour of Flanders is my main objective, Paris-Roubaix is my main objective. Would be nice if I get to win these, but if I can just keep my legs fresh and use these for training too, let the guys get their opportunity, get a chance to win. They're playing the Wout card in the back, so all the super domestiques at the early semi-classics, they get to say, hey, I don't have to do as much because we got Wout back there, and you know he already demolished everyone at Jaén. You know he's winning stages at Algarve, so you know he can win here at Omloop and Kern-Brussels Kearns, so you don't want to deal with Wout back there. You better just deal with me soft pedaling in this front group, and maybe they have some numbers in there. It's not strange for them to have numbers in the classics, right, once it starts. And that's how those super domestiques can start pulling their own wins, which starts the ball rolling throughout the season. And then all of a sudden, Wout van Aert and Visma Bike arrive at the big-time classics. Once they start talking about Flanders and Paris-Roubaix, I know there's Milan-San Remo, but Wout van Aert's not doing Milan-San Remo, so they're not going to be so focused on that as they would Paris-Roubaix, and of course Tour of Flanders in opposite order, of course. But with that in mind, Wout can come into those races calmer. So last season, when Jan Tratnik and Sepp Kuss didn't wait at Classica Jaén, I said that was a mistake. I think this year, hopefully they learn from that, they correct that. If Wout has that kind of form of starting Classica Jaén where he can win, and when you look at his training, well, he got done doing the Cyclocross World Championships where he was second. He's had some big weeks since then of 550-mile weeks training. He's currently on a 500-mile week training. So it looks like the big guy should be ready to go, especially at such a smaller race like Classica Jaén. That's actually pretty ideal for him. The climbs are not that hard. The gravel sections there in Spain, they got 9-10 gravel sections with some slight climbing on it. Slight climbing, 6%, 7% sections. But that's what the big guy Wout van Aert does. So if he can go ahead and pull off a win there, if the team's racing 100% for him, that's great. It'll relieve the pressure a little bit. And if you can bring Wout van Aert into the finish of that race and looking after him, you know there's nobody that can out-sprint him at Classica Jaén. So tactic 101 for Vis Melissa bike at Jaén is to look after Wout van Aert 100%. And the only reason why you would leave him behind is if he just said, I don't have the legs, guys. The training's not perfect. I'm not 100% sharp. Sepp, you get the green light to go win. But when you look at last season, that was a bad tactic. Okay, we start going down in Algarve. Next thing you know, Vis Melissa bike have another super rider arriving on the team. His name is Jonas Vingegaard. So when they go into Algarve with Jonas Vingegaard and Wout van Aert, they should be able to win stages with Wout van Aert with the field sprints. And then you have Jonas Vingegaard battling none other than their old teammate Primoz Roglic at Algarve. So when we get down there, it's going to be exciting. I'm going to cover on the Butterfly Effect Classica Jaén. I might cover 2, possibly 3 stages of Algarve, but then I got some work to do over in Portland, so I won't be able to cover the weekend races there in Portugal. Sorry about that, but I'm going over to meet up with the Portland Velo Cycling Club down there and do appearance with them. But I'll be back afterwards, and of course, on Beyond the Covers, I'll cover that last weekend of how that racing went, because the last day in Algarve with the individual time trial, just over 20 kilometers, will give us a sneak peek of what's coming between Jonas Vingegaard and Primoz Roglic that'll battle there in Algarve. Now the tactics going into that, especially day 2, that's a summit finish, it's going to be easy tactic 101 because you have 2 superstars, first page riders that are racing for general classification with Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard, Red Bull, Bora, Hansgrohe, and Vis Melissa bike that will control the peloton on that stage 2. Come into that last climb that's about 8.5 kilometers long. It's a steep climb. They show it as about 5%, but I've done it. It's definitely harder than that for sure. It has pitches in there. So it could be a little bit of a tactical battle near the summit of that climb between Primoz Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard. But it should just be both teams coming into that climb, drilling it, dropping off all of the riffraff back there in the pro peloton, and then letting the 2 big battle guys duke it out at the finish with a little bit of tactical battling, because there is a bit of a draft on that climb. And we know Primoz Roglic is faster than Jonas Vingegaard, but Jonas Vingegaard could feel like if he can get to the individual time trial on the final stage there of Algarve, he might still be able to take the general classification. So Jonas Vingegaard is going to play a little tactical game on that climb, I would think, with Primoz Roglic, unless, of course, one or the other is just head and shoulders better, where they drop everybody in the European peloton there at Algarve and they solo that. But I would find that hard to believe unless, of course, one has been sick or the training just hasn't been spot on. So Algarve is going to be a nice race to see how Jonas Vingegaard and Primoz Roglic battle against each other, and are both teams ready to start advancing, coming into Paris-Nice, Tirreno Adriatico, where Paris-Nice, so you have Jonas Vingegaard going to. Tirreno Adriatico, though, is going to be open from all the first page 4 GC riders, because Primoz won't be doing it, Jonas isn't doing it, Remco Evenepoel's not doing it. So you know, with those guys missing and Primoz Roglic with all 4 missing, that when we get to Tirreno Adriatico, it's going to be a big week-long stage race for a rider like Tom Pidcock from Q36.5. Remember, he won the Lula Tour by dropping everybody? Well, now it'll be a big opportunity at Tirreno Adriatico for Tom Pidcock to see if he can win a big, important week-long race like Tirreno Adriatico without those 4 first-page GC riders there. Be a little bit interesting race to watch once we get to Tirreno Adriatico. Now, sticking back with Jonas Vingegaard, as I said, he's going to head over to Paris-Nice, but he's not going to have to battle against other first-page riders, so that's a perfect opportunity for Vis Melissa Bikes Jonas Vingegaard to start his win tally starting early in the season if he can't beat Primoz Roglic at Algarve. So interesting start to the season. I'll see you guys for the Butterfly Effect at Jaén, where we'll get a good idea of figuring out what kind of form Wout van Aert has. And then at Algarve, we got a good idea of figuring out Vis Melissa Bikes' other superstar, Jonas Vingegaard. What kind of legs does he have? Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the Butterfly Effect on Monday real soon.